All right, hello again. This time around, I'm coming to you from foggy San Francisco. You can see behind me. I'm at the UCSF hospital, and just want to give you another update on my lymphoma treatment. So, since my last update, last one of these videos that I did, I've done 3 cycles of chemotherapy, and each of those took place over a 3 to 4 day period with a 3 to 4 week break in between each one of those. And there's a picture of me doing that at the infusion clinic. And I've got ice on my hands and feet there and in my mouth, and that's to slow down the blood circulation and keep the nasty chemicals from causing problems in those areas. It's not very comfortable, but it worked, so it's worth it. So from those treatments, all the hair is gone again, and actually there's some little bits that are trying to come back, but those are going to get annihilated from what we're going to do next, unfortunately. So anyways, after the second chemo treatment, I had another PET CT scan done to find out if it was working, if it was killing the cancer. And at that time, we got good news and learned that it was killing the cancer. My doctor said he gave that result an A+. But then right after that, he told me, but we're going to go ahead and do the 3rd cycle anyways. So good times this summer. In my last video, I explained that the scan that I just described that was going to take place after my second chemo treatment would be sort of a fork in the road, which it was, because it was then that we could determine what the next phase of my treatment would be. So because that scan showed that the chemo was effective and successful, that means that we can go to a stem cell transplant for the next phase of the treatment. And that's the result that we were praying for, because it has the best odds of a complete cure. So that's the place we want to go next, and that's what we're doing. So that's good news. Remember, that's good news. So now we're on to the next steps of this process. And what I'm going to be having done is called an autologous stem cell transplant. Autologous means that they actually transplant you with your own stuff. So in this case, it's my own stem cells from my blood. So the first step in that process is to harvest the stem cells from my blood, and that was we got that done the week before last, and that was a kind of a long, tricky process. I had to inject myself twice a day for 10 days with a drug to stimulate stem cell production, and then I had to come to the UCSF every day for a week for blood testing, and that was a pain because it just involved so much sitting and waiting around for results, and then of course sitting in traffic to go home during rush hour most days. So anyways, we finally were able to achieve the goal of collecting the stem cells, so that made it all worthwhile. The stem cells were collected by hooking me up to this machine that you see here with IVs in both arms. One side pulls the blood out, and then the other side puts the parts of the blood that weren't separated out back into my other arm. And I had to sit there like that for 6 hours, and during that time my left arm could not move at all. So that was kind of a long time to sit there like that. It wasn't too bad until about the 5th hour when it really started to ache. So what you see here is the the machine that separates the blood, and that's my blood sloshing around in there with all the tubes. And this is the end result here. All of that was done to collect this very expensive little bag with about 270 cc's of my stem cells and blood plasma. There's about 5.1 million stem cells in that bag. And then that bag was immediately taken to a special freezer where it's still being stored. And I've asked several different times that freezer's still working okay. So the next step, which actually began this morning, will be 6 days of an extreme dose of chemotherapy called BEAM, which is much stronger than any of the chemo treatments that I've had before. The first one this morning went really well. They talked about it being a hard day, but I just took a couple-hour nap, and they gave me Benadryl, which put me to sleep, and it was no big deal, really. I feel good right now. So these chemo drugs that I'm going to get this week are going to be so strong that they're not only going to kill all the cancer, but they also kill my bone marrow and do a lot of damage, of course, to the blood. And the chemo, this chemo also has much more extreme side effects. So between the extreme side effects and the fact that the immune system gets completely wiped out as well, those are all the reasons that I have to be admitted and stay here in the hospital for 3 to 4 weeks probably. So the next 5 days, starting tomorrow, I'm going to have chemo treatments in the morning for 2 to 3 hours, and then again at 10 o'clock at night for 2 to 3 hours. Hopefully the side effects won't be as bad as they're saying. I've tolerated all the stuff, all the chemo treatments so far, including today, better than most people, so hopefully it won't be so bad. They tell me that about a week after that's done, which would be like not this weekend but next, is when the side effects will really hit me the hardest and I'll be feeling the worst. So I'm looking forward to that. So when the chemo treatments are done, I think I have 1 day, maybe not, of nothing, and then they reintroduce my stem cells back into my body. They thaw them out from the freezer, and then give them back to me through an IV, and that's the actual stem cell transplant when that takes place, and that's considered day 0 of the process, and that's when my body will fully reboot, and the stem cells will go into the bone marrow and begin doing their job again, and my body will start the recovery process over again from scratch with no history of immunity, and because of that, I'll be very susceptible to infections, germs of any kind, and that's another reason why I have to stay in the hospital for a little bit longer, a couple more weeks at least, until my blood counts reach a certain point, and they can see that my body's on the right path to recovery. So then I go home, and then I have to be in strict quarantine at home after that as well. Can't really be around any people, can't really be around even my kids very much, and by then they'll be back in school, so that's another reason to be careful of germs. So for about 6 weeks after the stem cell transplant, I've got to really live in a bubble, and then gradually that'll get better over the following 6 months, and then maybe 12 months, as the body just builds up immunity all over again from scratch, and I can get all of the vaccinations again, not just COVID, but every vaccination, just like a new baby has to get. So I'll need to be really careful, and speaking of COVID, I have to obviously avoid that. They say I can get that vaccine again. I've already had it, but that'll get wiped out. So I'll get that vaccine again after possibly as soon as 3 months, which will be great. But before then, I need to be extremely careful to avoid COVID. So that's what I'll be doing. I'm here now. This is where I'm going to be for a while. It's a really nice room. It's a pretty big room. I got my own private bathroom, and got this fabulous view. It's too bad that it's so foggy out there right now, because you can see, like, over there, downtown San Francisco and the bay, and beyond that building is the Golden Gate Bridge. And then even further over that way, you can see the ocean and like Marin County and everything. It's an incredible view, just not right now. So I'm pretty comfortable here, pretty happy with everything that they have here. The food's good, and I'm sure I'll get sick of all of it, but I just checked in here yesterday afternoon, and I'm still getting settled in. But so far so good, and yeah, this is what it's going to be for now. So that's all I've got for you right now, and a lot of you have been reaching out for an update and sending all your prayers and positive vibes, so thanks for all of that. Every bit of that helps. So take care, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.